This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor.
This is just me talking about my personal financial journey. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Enjoy the show.
Imagine the richest person in your small town, right? Like take a second and actually picture them in your head.
It's usually probably the local car dealership owner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or, like the lawyer who lives in that massive newly built house on the hill, driving their pristine luxury SUV.
All right, the one that never actually sees dirt.
Exactly. Because we've been completely conditioned to associate wealth with visibility. I mean, high salaries, shiny assets, big impressive titles.
Yeah, it's all about what you can see.
But what if I told you that the person with the most actual financial freedom in town isn't the lawyer, and it's not the business owner? What if I told you it's the 50-year-old scanning your groceries right now?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that completely flips the script.
Right. So today we're going on a deep dive into a story that it completely shatters our modern assumptions about money, status, and success.
And we're talking about a very specific profile here for this deep dive.
We're looking at a 50-year-old individual who has spent their entire adult life working near minimum wage retail jobs, living in a small town with, honestly, long stretches of economic stagnation.
Yeah, towns where opportunity isn't exactly knocking on every door.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, this person somehow managed to build a liquid net worth of $110,000.
Which is just incredible. The sheer grit required to accomplish this is, well, it's staggering.
It really is.
We are essentially dissecting a masterclass in behavioral psychology and resilience here. To look at an environment where economic stagnation is just the accepted reality, right? To experience personal setbacks and to systematically build a six-figure financial fortress anyway, that requires a complete rewiring of how a person interacts with the world around them.
Wait, I have to stop you right there, because if you were listening to this, you might be having the exact same reaction I did when I first looked at the sources for today.
The math reaction.
Yes. I mean, I worked minimum wage.
Yeah.
I remember looking at my bank account at the end of the month after rent, groceries, gas, and seeing literally zero.
Yeah, or sometimes negative.
Exactly, sometimes negative.
Yeah.
So I don't care how disciplined someone is, the math simply doesn't make sense to me on the surface. Like, how is amassing over 100 grand physically possible on those wages without literally starving to death?
Well, the truth is the math doesn't work. Not if you are following the standard script of American life anyway.
What do you mean?
You cannot outsave the basic cost of living on a retail salary if you have standard expenses. It's just a mathematical impossibility.
Right, the overhead is just too high.
Exactly. The only way this equation balances is by radically eliminating overhead. And this individual did that by making a choice that, frankly, small-town culture traditionally stigmatizes.
Oh, they lived at home?
Yes, they lived at home with their parents, and they experienced some early setbacks, too, including an attempt at school that simply didn't pan out.
Oh, man. And in a small town, the gossip mill immediately weaponizes that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The narrative instantly becomes, they failed, they're stuck, they're still living at home.
Right. The town puts a permanent label on you. You basically become a cautionary tale in the local diner.
But let's reframe that narrative by looking at the actual data of what was happening behind closed doors.
Okay.
Living at home wasn't a surrender. It was a low overhead launch pad. By removing rent and massive utility bills from the equation, this person converted a minimum wage income into a high margin enterprise.
Wow, a high margin enterprise. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, they were quietly building massive financial leverage while the rest of the town was just busy judging them.
Okay, let's unpack this, because even with low overhead, the immediate modern assumption is that to get to $110,000 quickly on low wages, they must have gambled.
The crypto assumption.
Yes. If you scroll through social media, the cultural narrative screams that the only way out for a low-income worker is throwing a few $100 into a meme coin, riding some bizarre cryptocurrency wave, and then just cashing out.
Yeah, we have to kill that crypto myth right now.
Please do.
Looking at the data in our sources, this portfolio is absolutely not a lucky gamble. Cryptocurrency makes up a highly contained, almost aggressively disciplined fraction of the total net worth.
Just a fraction. So how much exactly?
Exactly $4,000.
$4,000 out of $110,000. I mean, that is wild restraint considering the hype out there.
It really is. It shows incredible discipline.
So where's the heavy lifting actually happening then? because our sources highlight that the vast majority of this wealth is solidly anchored in core index funds and individual stocks.
Yes, very traditional, very boring vehicle.
Right. Specifically, they built this inside a Vanguard Roth IRA, heavily invested in the Total Stock Market Index Fund, or VTSAX.
Which is a classic choice for a reason.
Yeah, and for anyone unfamiliar, buying VTSAX means this person isn't hunting for needles in the haystack, right? They just bought the whole haystack.
Exactly.
They own a microscopic slice of virtually every publicly traded company in the United States.
What's fascinating here is the mechanics of why that specific account, the Roth IRA, is the absolute secret weapon in this scenario.
Okay, lay it on us.
When you are making a low wage, your income tax bracket is incredibly low. And a Roth IRA uses post-tax dollars.
Right, so you pay taxes first.
Yes, which means the individual paid their historically low taxes on that retail paycheck and then put the money into the account.
Okay, I follow.
The genius of the Roth mechanism is that once the money is inside, it grows completely tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free in retirement.
Oh, wow. So no taxes on the growth at all.
None. So when this portfolio eventually hits, say, $250,000, every single dime of that growth is shielded from taxes. That is exactly how you mathematically beat a system that is usually stacked against low-wage workers.
Man, it's like building an absolute fortress, one agonizingly slow brick at a time, while everyone else is out buying lottery tickets.
That's a perfect analogy.
But I have to ask, is it just about aggressive saving at this point? Like keeping your hands off that growing account, hauling that water every day while working a demanding retail job? That takes a specific kind of fuel.
It does. It takes immense psychological fuel.
Right, and when does the math actually shift from just saving to actually growing? Because looking at the timeline in our sources, there's a massive inflection point here.
Yes, there is.
This wasn't just a slow, steady march. Something happened that threw absolute gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, we have to talk about the emotional catalyst of 2020, because this is where the story shifts from just a clever financial strategy to a deeply, deeply human one.
Yeah, this part is heavy.
In 2020, this individual tragically lost their father to COVID-19.
I mean, I can't even imagine the weight of that, especially in an environment where you might already feel, economically vulnerable and you're living in that home.
Right. When you experience a sudden, devastating loss like that, it fundamentally shatters your illusion of safety.
Oh, for sure.
Grief of that magnitude often acts as an incredible forcing function for people. And instead of letting the tragedy break them, this individual channeled that intense grief into a hyper-focused drive to radically pad and grow their portfolio.
So the wealth accumulation wasn't about buying a sports car or taking a luxury vacation.
No, not at all.
It was almost a trauma response transformed into a survival mechanism. Like they were using money as a deliberate emotional and economic shield.
That is the core of it, yeah. They were building a fortress of assets to create distance, safety, and ultimate self-reliance.
Right, because when you lose a parent, especially the one you are living with, the vulnerability of your situation is just suddenly placed under a glaring spotlight.
Exactly. The aggressive saving, the reliance on VTSAX, it was all about insulating themselves from the harsh unpredictability of the outside world. The money basically represented a physical barrier between them and disaster.
That perfectly explains the relentless push to reach that six-figure mark. And I guess that brings us to the math of what happens when that shield actually gets big enough.
The tipping point.
Yeah. Let's talk about the concept famously articulated by the legendary investor Charlie Munger, because our subject here has just entered what is known as the Charlie Munger phase.
Yes. Munger notoriously advised that accumulating the first $100,000 is a remarkably difficult hurdle. He called it a physical and psychological nightmare.
A nightmare.
But he said, you simply have to do it. And why? Because $100,000 is not the finish line.
It's not the end.
No, it is merely the end of the beginning. Up until that six-figure mark, your portfolio's growth is entirely dependent on your sweat equity.
Right. Your physical labor, your frugal choices, you're just putting deposits in from your paycheck. You were doing all the heavy lifting.
But the moment you cross that threshold, the mechanics of exponential growth completely take over. The portfolio transitions from being a product of pure savings into an autonomous compounding engine that's driven by the market itself.
Okay, give us the math on that.
Sure. So, if a $100,000 portfolio grows by a historically average 10% in a year, it generates $10,000 in returns.
Which, for a retail worker on near minimum wage, could easily represent half of their annual take-home pay. and it's just appearing out of thin air.
Exactly.
It's like the money is literally clocking in for a shift alongside them. You've stopped hauling water because the trees are finally mature enough to drop their own seeds and grow the orchard for you.
I love that. Yes, the capital is now an active participant in their survival.
Right.
But this raises an important question, though. Setting a trajectory for the next major milestone, which is $250,000, requires a fundamental rewiring of how someone views money.
Because of the scarcity mindset.
Exactly. Remember, they started in a background where money has only ever been a scarce resource. It's something you desperately need right now just to survive the week.
Right.
Transitioning from that to an abundance mindset where you view your money as a compounding tool, that is an incredibly difficult psychological leap.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, because the temptation to change your lifestyle must be just completely overwhelming at this stage.
Oh, absolutely.
Hitting that first 100 grand proved you have endurance. But the march from $100,000 to $250,000, that is a massive test of psychological fortitude.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah, it's resisting the urge to look at your Vanguard app and say, hey, I have over 100 grand, I'm finally rich, time to upgrade my life and show the town I actually made it.
Right. Time to buy the new truck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, you have to completely ignore the wealth you sacrificed everything to build. You just have to let the engine run.
It is the ultimate exercise in delayed gratification. You are no longer just a worker, right? You have become an allocator of capital. And making that leap completely changes the internal reality of your day-to-day life in a small town.
That day-to-day dissonance is so fascinating. Because from the outside, they are waking up, putting on a uniform, and doing the exact same retail job they have always done.
Yep. Nothing looks different.
The customers treat them exactly the same, the town views them exactly the same, but inside, the town changes from a place of economic dependence and vulnerability to a place of choice and absolute optionality.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, let's look at what financial vulnerability actually feels like in the human nervous system.
Yeah.
Living paycheck to paycheck in a small town creates this chronic low-grade terror.
It's exhausting.
It is. You are dependent on a manager who might not like you. You're dependent on your old car starting in the morning. You are highly vulnerable to inflation or, sudden shifts in the local economy, but holding a liquid net worth of $110,000, that fundamentally changes your brain chemistry. It brings this profound, silent peace of mind. The stakes of daily life are just radically lowered.
But wait, does having this financial shield make someone feel isolated from their community? Or is it more like, I don't know, walking around with a secret superpower where the mundane economic stressors of small-town life just bounce right off you?
It's definitely the secret superpower. Like you said, a medical bill or a blown transmission is no longer an existential crisis that ruins your year.
Right, it's just a minor administrative annoyance. You write a check and you move on.
Precisely. And this internal peace creates a really fascinating sociological dynamic when it finally clashes with the external reality of a small town.
Yes, the external disruption. Because small towns notoriously script people into static social tiers, and it's based heavily on what you do for a living.
Very rigid hierarchy.
Oh, incredibly rigid. If you work a retail job, the town's social script automatically places you at the very bottom of the ladder.
Sadly, yes.
People think they know exactly what your potential is, and they assume they know exactly what your life looks like behind closed doors.
The local hierarchy demands that you stay in your designated box.
Yeah.
And the strategy this individual has employed, which in financial circles we call stealth wealth, completely subverts that entire power structure.
I love stealth wealth. It's so quiet, but so powerful.
It really is. They're essentially allowing the town to continue believing whatever false narrative it wants to believe, while quietly operating in an entirely different financial stratosphere.
Let's talk about the contrast between our subject and the people at the quote-unquote top of that small-town hierarchy. People who are actively performing wealth.
Oh, it is a stark contrast. You have our subject, who is perceived as being at the very bottom of the economic ladder, but they are operating with this calm, zero-debt freedom.
Right.
On the other hand, you have the established locals, the people with the impressive titles, the brand-new heavy-duty trucks, the massive mortgages.
The ones everyone looks up to.
Exactly. The local hierarchy respects them. But in reality, many of those supposedly wealthy or established citizens are weighed down by crushing high-interest debt.
And their assets are highly illiquid. I think that's a point we need to emphasize.
Yes, explain that.
When we say the rich guys in town have illiquid assets, we mean their wealth is physically trapped in drywall, land, and rapidly depreciating pickup trucks.
Right, it's locked up.
If the local economy tanks and they lose their job, they can't slice off a piece of their house to go buy groceries at the supermarket. The bank still expects that huge mortgage payment.
Their financial standing is incredibly fragile. They are one bad month away from disaster. Meanwhile, our retail workers' wealth is highly liquid.
Because it's all in stocks and index funds.
Exactly. They can access tens of thousands of dollars in cash tomorrow with literally the click of a button on their phone. That is what true safety looks like.
Yeah.
The local elite are performing wealth to maintain their status, while our subject is actually possessing wealth to maintain their freedom.
So what does this all mean? I think the strategic genius here isn't just in picking a Vanguard index fund and holding it forever, even though that is mathematically brilliant.
It is.
The true genius is the psychological triumph of rewriting your life script at 50 years old without ever needing to announce it.
Without needing a parade.
Right. This person didn't need to move to a big city. They didn't need to get some fancy tech job. And most importantly, they didn't need the town's validation. They entirely decoupled their self-worth from their job title and tied it to their financial autonomy.
It takes a remarkably secure ego to accomplish that.
Seriously.
To have a strong enough sense of self to not care if the person in line behind you at the grocery store thinks you are just a broke clerk who never made anything of themselves.
We'll let them think it.
Exactly. They know the truth. They know about the compounding engine running in the background. They know about the shield they build out of the ashes of their grief.
It really forces you to reevaluate every single interaction you have in a day. I mean, you realize you have absolutely no idea what kind of quiet empires are being built by the people scanning your items or making your coffee or stocking the shelves at night.
We constantly underestimate the invisible leverage of discipline and time. We really do.
We do. So to quickly pull all of these threads together for you listening, we've looked at how a 50-year-old retail worker took a near minimum wage reality, endured the deep grief of losing a parent, and used that as a massive catalyst to build an impenetrable financial shield.
A literal fortress.
We explored why utilizing the tax advantage of a Roth IRA and the broad exposure of VTSAX work so well while avoiding the trap of crypto gambling.
Just sticking to the plan.
Right. We broke down the magic of the Charlie Munger compounding phase, where your money starts to basically clock in for its own shift. And finally, we saw how stealth, wealth, and liquid assets completely subvert the rigid, often debt-fueled social scripts of small-town life.
It is an incredible testament to human agency.
It really is.
And it leaves us with a critical, I think, provocative question to consider as we look at our own lives.
Okay, what is it?
If stealth wealth, zero debt freedom, and extreme liquidity are the ultimate power moves, what does that say about the rest of society's obsession with status?
Well, that's good.
It forces us to ask, are the expensive luxury cars, the massive houses, and the impressive job titles we constantly broadcast actually symbols of success? Or are they just the very financial prisons this individual managed to quietly escape?
Man, that is a phenomenal thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking beneath the surface, keep questioning the social scripts you've been handed, and we will catch you next time.